Hey y'all, welcome back. Today we're going to be resealing this roof. I can't believe that all the videos I have done, I have never posted one that shows you guys how I actually reseal RV roofs. And so this is going to be a great resource for anybody who's just curious on how the process works, what products you're supposed to use, the whole process. So thanks for being here. As you can see, this roof is pretty dirty. They tried to clean the back so you can kind of see the difference, but it had a lot of things going on. It's never been resealed. There was some bubbling on it. The self-leveling sealant was cracked. It's actually currently leaking when it came to my shop. And so we're going to get this sealed up and ready for them to use when they retire in 2 years. So the first step is to bring out my giant A-frame right here. This is my favorite ladder. So I'll set that up because this is pretty tall. It does have a ladder on the back, but I like to use my A-frame better. So my first step is going to be to remove all of the roof vent covers. I think this one has maybe 3 or 4 of them. So to remove these, there's basically a nut that sits inside, or I guess on the sides. There's a nut with a bolt. And so the bolt comes through the bottom and the nut sticks up on top with some washers on it, some lock washers. So you really just have to take that nut off and then the whole thing kind of comes up. And I will go ahead and do this for all of them. And this one I actually thought was pretty funny because when I took this vent cover off, the original instructions for installing the vent were actually inside. That's a new one for me. So they didn't even bother to take it up. And now I'm just admiring my husband mowing the grass without a shirt on because he's great. Anyway, so I'm also going to take this fridge vent cover off right here because you can't really get to the sealant unless you take that off. It's literally impossible to get to it. So it's 4 screws. Normally they are Phillips head, so there should just be 4 Phillips head screws. Sometimes they're different, but most of the time they're Phillips head. Now, this is a really important step, especially before you order any of your supplies. So you need to know what kind of roof you have before you order your supplies because you need to know if you have EDPM or TPO. So EDPM, with the type of system, roof system that I use, you will need a primer. So if you take your trim ring off, sometimes you'll have the roof skin kind of hanging around that the wood part that you see right there. This one actually didn't, so I had to look up in it. But if it is black on the other side, if you see black underneath the roof skin, then it's going to be EDPM. If it's white, then it's going to be TPO most of the time. And as you can see, this was clearly leaking. This is the shower dome that somebody tried to seal from the inside. Please don't do that, guys. Okay, please don't seal it from the inside. It doesn't work. Anyway, so make sure you have primer if you need primer. In this case, my roof was EDPM, so I do need a primer. My first step is going to be to clean this roof. And to clean the roof, I literally just pressure wash it. There's a lot of different ways people can tell you to clean a roof. I don't like to use a whole lot of chemicals on the roof membrane because sometimes they can mess with the primer and the products that I use. So pressure washing gets a nice clean surface. Now, the whole point of using a primer when you have an EDPM roof, and sometimes TPO roofs do actually need primer too, so it really just depends on what product you use. But for the one I'm specifically using, it is from Ron. He's the RV roof man. Absolutely love him, love his stuff. And so the EDPM requires a primer because a lot of times after you pressure wash it and clean it, it's really, really chalky, and the chalkiness won't stick to the actual roof sealant itself, the actual roll-on roof sealant. And so because of that, it needs a primer to kind of go on top of all that chalkiness, and then the roof sealant itself actually sticks on top of the primer. So this process, it doesn't take very long. I actually don't show you the entire roof because I feel like you guys probably know how to pressure wash. The pressure washer that I have isn't a very high PSI pressure washer, but Ron actually uses them up to like 3,200 PSI or something like that. So it'll be perfectly fine if whatever PSI you want to pressure wash it, as long as it's not tearing off your roof membrane. Now, next, because of all of that stuff that I've pressure washed off the roof, I'm going to go ahead and wash the side of the camper. Now, I do this directly after I wash the roof while it's still wet because I don't want all of that crud from the roof to dry on the side of the camper. It just makes life so much easier when it comes to cleaning it up because I obviously don't want to send this home with a whole bunch of crud on the side of the camper because that is just not a very nice thing to do. So now that the entire roof is pressure washed, now is the time where I'm going to replace any vents that are cracked or that I feel like just need replacing. In this case, the shower dome I know was leaking. Shower domes a lot of times dry rot really, really bad. And my test for this, you guys are going to laugh. If I can punch it and there's a hole in it and it just shatters, then it needs to be replaced. If you can punch it and nothing happens, then you're probably okay. But if it's that yellowish color, replace it. I mean, these things are like $50. It's not worth the micro cracks that they get and the leaks that they get. So I do recommend looking at all of your vents and inspecting them. In this case, I ended up replacing the shower dome and one of the actual vents itself. It's a non-fan vent that I replaced in the front. And to replace these, all I do is take the old one off. I scrape very carefully because you don't want to tear the membrane. I scrape very carefully the old sealant and any gunk off of it. And then the new shower dome or vent that I'm putting in, I put butyl tape on the bottom of it, and then I stick it in and screw it in. Now is the time. I'm not going to put self-leveling on it. I'll do that afterwards. This client, I did actually replace their AC unit as well. And so if you're looking to upgrade your AC unit to one with a heat pump, I do have two videos actually, one with ducted and one non-ducted on how I install the Rec Pro AC units in campers. Super easy to do, great upgrade, absolutely love them. And my neighbor was nice enough to come and help me get this up on the roof. I'm not going to get into all that, so I'm kind of going to skip over that part. And if you want to go watch that, you can go watch the other video that I have on my channel. Okay, moving on. Next, I need to tape everything. So I'm taping the side rails. I'm just going to try to be really careful not to spill this. I'm going to be honest, I probably should have put some paper underneath this because there was like a few spots that spilled over. So for my side rails, I put my tape in between that plastic trim insert. And if you look at your camper, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It's just below the kind of top of the rail itself. And I did that because I'm going to go back and put self-leveling on that rail. And so I want it to kind of not make a mess everywhere when I do that. I'm also going to tape the back. This one specifically, the front and the back are going to be different for each camper. But this one kind of it's got a piece on the back that kind of just sits there. And so I can just put it all along the back. I put it all around each vent. I forgot to put it around the AC unit here, but I would suggest putting it around the AC unit unless you want to go back and start scraping stuff off, which is no fun. Pretty much anything you don't want to get sealant on, put it on. Because this stuff will stick to anything. All right. Don't ask me how I know. You already know how I know. So anything you don't want to have to clean up later, put tape on. It just makes your life so much easier. And my favorite tape to use is the frog tape. I use the extra wide frog tape just because I don't have to double it up. It just, I've always used the frog tape. It comes off clean, it sticks nice, and that's that. The blue tape I'm sure is fine too. I just don't think it sticks as well, especially when it's windy like it is when I was doing this. So last but not least, I'm going to give it one last clean off just to get all the dust or anything else off. I have waited and the roof is dry at this point, so I am ready to put my primer on. So this is the primer that I use. It's the Extreme Primer. Again, this is from the RV Roofman. It says you're supposed to stir it for 1 to 2 minutes. And then I think it's every 15 to 20 minutes after that. If you have it open, you're using it, you just need to stir it with a paint stick again so it kind of doesn't dry up and get yucky. So this is me just stirring it. I have my drill with my stir attachment on it and just giving it a good mix. So I think this was probably my least favorite part of the whole process because I hand painted or I hand applied the primer on the roof. Now I did that because I feel like it applies it more evenly. So I wanted a really thin coat. I didn't want it on too thin and I wanted it as even as possible. And so that's why I chose not to roll it on because I was worried that it was going to be too thick and too goopy and that I would use too much of it and it was going to be too thick. This whole process honestly probably only took 15 minutes, but my hand was just tired and that was that. So I'm sure there's probably a better way to do it. I even thought about maybe getting one of the really small foam rollers and rolling it that way. But again, wasn't really a huge deal. It did turn out nice and even, so that was the most important thing. So this is going to go over the entire roof membrane, and just for reference, 1 gallon of this goes really far. I only used half of the gallon, and I think this roof is like maybe 25 to 30 feet, somewhere in that area. So it does go quite a long way. So highly recommend this primer. You definitely need it if you have the EDPM roof anyway. So that's just my 2 cents. And again, I have the paint stirrer and in my back pocket because every 15 to 20 minutes you're going to want to stir it. So now that I have that on, actually didn't take very long to dry at all. So it was maybe 30 minutes and the whole thing was dry, which is absolutely great. The thing that I like about the RV Roofman Ron's products is that after you put the primer on, it's not sticky. Okay, so some of the other primers that I've used, one of them actually made the mistake of stepping on the roof because I thought that it was going to be fine, because why wouldn't it be? And I felt like a fly on a glue trap. It was awful. And to top it, I was wearing fuzzy socks when that happened. So lesson learned, never using that other product. I'm not going to name that one because I'm sure somebody's going to get mad. Anyway, absolutely love this primer because it's smooth and it's not sticky after you put it on. Okay, so Extreme Primer is on. It's dried. Now I'm going in with the Forever RV roof coating. So this stuff, very, very thick. I am starting with the edges, and then I'm going to go back and do all of the vents on the roof. So this stuff, absolutely love it. I mean, I'm telling you, I have used so many roof sealants in my life, and a lot of them are just really watery. This is not that. Okay, this is very thick. It coats not so. The main difference I like about this one, Ron's products, so the Forever RV coat almost seems to self-level, which is great because some of the other roof sealants that I've used, you roll it on and then you get, kind of like clumps on either side where you have to go back and roll them back out. This one self-levels, and I don't know if Ron has specifically designed it to do that or not, but that was my experience with it, is that it kind of self-levels itself out, which makes for a really nice, smooth, and even coating. So when I first started this, I started off with a roller and was just kind of rolling it out nice and even, which was fine. But then toward the back, I just kind of put the roller in the bucket and was just rolling straight from the bucket, and it smoothed out really nice and even. I'm only showing you the first coat here. I did end up doing maybe 3 or 4 coats on this just to get it nice and even. And my favorite part, which I wish I would have gotten a video of this, is that I'm in North Carolina right now, and it was October when I did this, so we have dew in the morning. And so when I would wake up in the morning, the dew would literally bead up on the roof and it would just drip right off. And it was like some of the other products that I've used, that the water kind of just sticks on the roof. It doesn't bead up and fall off, almost like Rain-X when it kind of beads up and just falls off. Anyway, I was very, very impressed with it. And also, as a helpful side note, I did use lint-free rollers on that, so I would recommend that as well. Okay, so now that I've got 3 or 4 coats on and it's dry, it is time to come in with the Forever Lap Sealant. Also love this stuff, also self-leveling. So there's a little bit of debate about whether you scrape the old sealant off or leave it on. So I'm kind of both ways. So this roof membrane, it wasn't worth it to me to risk damaging it for scraping the old sealant off. So what I did was I completely covered the old sealant with new sealant. And that means, did I use extra sealant? Absolutely. Was it worth it? Absolutely. So if you're going to plan on doing this, I would order at least 2 lap sealants per vent. That's pretty much what I used. And then maybe more for the front and the back, 2 or 3 for the front, 2 or 3 for the back. And I know it sounds like a lot, but when you have to cover all of the sealant, the old sealant, it really does make a difference. So here's the final product. It looks nice and white. Now I can go ahead and put these vent covers back on and call it a day. Anyway, that's my 2 cents on resealing your RV roof. And these are the products that I use from the RV Roof Man. You can find it on his website, thervroofman.com. And the last note on shipping is I would purchase insurance for that because sometimes UPS does not do a very good job of delivering the sealant and getting everything lost. So maybe keep that in the back of your mind. Thanks for watching.